Isao Takahata is a Japanese film director, animator, screenwriter and producer who has earned critical international acclaim for his work as a director of anime films. Takahata is the co-founder of Studio Ghibli along with longtime collaborative partner Hayao Miyazaki. He has directed films such as The War-Themed Grave of the Fireflies, the romantic drama Only Yesterday, the ecological adventure Pom Poko, and the comedy My Neighbors the Yamadas. Unlike most anime directors, Takahata does not draw and never worked as an animator before becoming a full-fledged director. According to Hayao Miyazaki, music and study are his hobbies. He was born in the same town as fellow director Kon Ichikawa, while Japanese film giant Yasujiro Ozu was raised by his father in nearby Matsusaka. Takahata graduated from the University of Tokyo French Literature course in 1959. Career: Takahata was originally intrigued by animation after having seen the French animated cartoon feature Le Roi et l'Oiseau based on a fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen. He was impressed by the film, asking, "Can these kind of things be done by animation?" While he was job hunting at his university, Takahata was tempted to join Toei Animation by a friend who knew the company wanted an assistant director. For fun he took the company's entrance examination as he had been originally interested in animation. When he was notified of the informal decision, he joined the company. The reason he decided to join the company was his thought that if it was animation, I can be something interesting too. However, there were more than 10 people joining the company that same year, 2 recruited by Toei Animation and the surplus workers sent by Toei head office. Because of the competition, he had a hard time achieving the status of director. Takahata finally directed his first film after he was recommended for the position by Yasuo Ozu, who was both his and Hayao Miyazaki's instructor. His directorial debut was Holes, Prince of the Sun. Holes was a commercial failure. He was a member of the production team deemed responsible for the failure and was accordingly demoted. He also had difficulty making a new film since the remaining staff members who had not been demoted for the failure of Holes were working on a different Toei film. In 1971, to make the animated feature Pippi Longstocking, Takahata left Toei Animation along with Yoichi Kotobe and Hayao Miyazaki and transferred to a production, an animation studio founded by his former superior, Takeshiro Kusub. They traveled to Sweden to acquire the animation rights and to hunt for locations, only to be turned away at the door by author Astrid Lindgren. Though their plan was frustrated, Miyazaki found inspiration in the fortified town of Visby and would later set both Stockholm and Visby as the stage of Key's delivery service. In 1971, Takahata and Miyazaki requested to direct episodes 7 and onward of the first Lupin III TV series anime, due to the low ratings and, for the time, exceptionally high levels of sex and violence in the initial episodes directed by Masaki Azumi. Since the animation director was Yasuo Oetsuka, an old acquaintance, they accepted the offer under the condition that the names of the 2 people were not released, and direction was credited only to a production directors group. Unlike Miyazaki, he did not participate in the second series, though his directing in the original was well received. Later in 1971 Zuio Enterprise invited Takahata, Kotobe and Miyazaki to direct an animated series of the novel Heidi and all 3 took the offer. The result was Heidi, Girl of the Alps. Afterwards, when the production section of Zuio was established as a subsidiary company of the animated cartoon production of Zuio Eizo, they both joined the company. On the picture side, animators drew carefully the nature of Europe and a change of season, and the everyday life of people on location in Switzerland. On the other hand, on the story side, Takahata made the animation version easy to accept by thinning a Christian element of the original besides the earnest Christian. 3000 Leagues in Search of Mother generally followed the original story it was based on, but because the story was less than 100 pages, Takahata himself created many additional episodes and characters. He portrayed the protagonist Marco as an independent child who did not care to flatter adults, and the adults as the ones who committed the crime even if they were relatively good people. In so doing, he brought the world of the anime closer to reality. However, Kotobe and Miyazaki felt frustrated by his direction, did not enjoy drawing the anime, and left Takahata. Takahata directed Anne of Green Gables along the lines of the original story, but he gave it further depth by portraying the relationship between Marilla and Anne as para-parenthood, something not suggested by the original. In Drinko Chai, Aa Florinage Ho Aa Florinai 1/4 meaning Chai the Brat, in 1981, Yasuo Ozu, who belonged to Tokyo Movie Shinsha Telecom Animation Film Company, Limited, offered Miyazaki, a telecom colleague, to turn this comic into an animated cartoon, but he refused. Therefore, Ozu consulted Takahata, but he also expressed disapproval first. However, Takahata, who had visited Osaka, felt that the world drawn in the comic was actually there. He took the request, left Nippon Animation, and moved to Telecom. This work, which paired Yasuo Ozu and Yoichi Kotobe, was praised and settled for a TV animation series because it got a favorable reception, and Takahata became the chief director. In 1982, Takahata was elected the director of Little Nemo, the work that tried to be produced so that Telecom could move to the United States. With Miyazaki and Ozu, who started at Telecom earlier, Takahata went to America, but the discord between and the Japan-US difference in production technique meant Takahata resigned and left Telecom. Miyazaki and others followed him. On the other hand, the cultural exchange was born between Japanese animator and seniors of Disney who had been cooperating in this project. Afterward, Takahata was invited by Miyazaki to join his animation production company Studio Ghibli after the success of Miyazaki's Naujisa Currency of the Valley of the Wind. The first movie directed by Takahata for Ghibli was Grave of the Fireflies. The film was widely acclaimed by film critics, like prominent and influential film critic Roger Ebert, who considered it one of the greatest war films ever made. In Ki's delivery service, Takahata did the music direction for Miyazaki. Takahata was awarded the Special Award at the Kobe Animation Awards on November 4, 2007. After more than 10 years, in November 2013, his latest movie Kaguya Hime no Monogatari was released. Influences and style. Takahata has been influenced by Italian neo-realism, Jacques Prat copyright vert, and French New Wave films during the 1960s. Bicycle Thieves has been cited as specifically influencing 3000 Leagues in Search of Mother. These influences make Takahata's work different from most animation, which focus on fantasy. His films, by contrast, are realistic with expressionistic overtones. Neo-realism's influence on his film is evident in the amount of attention to detail he takes in displaying everyday mundane events. Entire episodes of his early TV shows were devoted to looking at events such as going to church every week, having a job cleaning out bottles, or detailing the work farmers do out in fields. All of these events are shown in meticulous detail and often form a major part of his work. With the exception of Horace, Prince of the Sun, Pom Poko, and Gauche the Cellist, the majority of his works are dramas set in mostly realistic environments. One of Takahata's most praised films is Amoyed Poro Poro. The film was released in 1991 in Japan to critical acclaim, and was retitled as Only Yesterday for release to English-speaking audiences. A film aimed squarely at an adult audience, Amoyed Poro Poro revolves around Teko, a single woman working a desk job in Tokyo, who takes her annual vacation in the countryside with the family of her brother-in-law to work as a farmhand. During her holiday, Teko finds herself looking back nostalgically at her youth as a schoolgirl growing up in 1966, while simultaneously attempting to resolve her current issues with love and career. The expressionistic influences in Takahata's work are usually marked by scenes where a character's imagination comes to life on screen. For instance, in Amoyed Poro Poro, after Teko encounters her first love, she, defying gravity, runs up into and floats through the red-colored sky. The scene ends with her slowly gliding into bed and then cuts to an outside shot of her house where a giant heart emerges from her window. These expressionistic sequences run counter to Takahata's realistic storyline and animation, but are consciously used by the director to transition back and forth from realism to the unreal world of animated fantasy, thereby further enhancing the character. These scenes can be found to some degree in all of Takahata's work, beginning with the Forest of Delusion sequence in Horus, Prince of the Sun. Takahata's films have had a major influence on Hayao Miyazaki, prompting animator Yasujiro Ozu to say that Miyazaki gets his sense of social responsibility from Takahata, and that without Takahata, Miyazaki would probably just be interested in comic book stuff. As with Miyazaki, Takahata and Michel Ocelot are great admirers of each other's work. Ocelot names Takahata's Grave of the Fireflies and Pom Poko among his favorite films, while Takahata has used Ocelot's Kairaku and the Sorceress as a key example of objectivity used to a positive effect, as well as adapting and directing the Japanese dubs of his films. Works, TV, 1963-65, Ken the Wolf Boy, Advisor, Director of several episodes, Storyboard, 1965, Hustle Punch, Director of Opening Theme, 1969-70, Secret Little Akko, Assistant Director, based on the comics for Girls by Fuyo Akatsuka. 1968-69, Kaitara of GGGE, Storyboard/Director I1/4 Episode 62 I1/4 per mil, based on the horror comics by Shigeru Mizuki. 1969-70, Tara the Workaholic, Storyboard/Director, Director of Opening Theme, based on the comedy comics by Fuyo Akatsuka. 1971-72, GGG no Kaitaro/A registered trademark EAE Florence Storyboard/Director, Director of Opening and Ending Theme. 1971-72 AM Florin EC Florin/Apache Baseball Team, based on the comics by original, Kobako Hanato/Illustrating, Sashio Yumamoto, Storyboard/Director. 1971 EEA a registered trademark of Florin AC Oya Euro A1/4 AA4 a registered trademark of /Pippi Longstocking, The Strongest Girl in the World E1/4 temporary title A1/4 per mil Chief Director. However, since acquisition of the right to make anime went wrong, this project shifted to the movie A Euro OE Panda. Go, Panda! A Euro. 1971 Lupin 3, based on the comics by Monkey Punch, correction of direction/director. 1972-73 Micron Florin after the first Ash copyright/Red Kuros Susano Suke, based on the Jidaigeki comics featuring sword fighting by Ichi Fukui and Tsuneyoshi Takuchi, acting chief director. 1973-74 a registered trademark a degree after the first a micro of Florin/Isamu, Boy in the Wilderness, based on the Western comics by original, Soji Yamakawa/Illustrating, Noboru Kawasaki, Storyboard, Director. 1974 Heidi, Girl of the Alps/ based on the novel of Johanna Spyri, Chief Director/Storyboard. 1975 Dog of Flanders/ based on the novel of Uda, Storyboard. 1976 3000 Leagues in Search of Mother/ based on one episode in the novel Cuore by Edmondo de Amicis, Chief Director, Storyboard. 1977 AM Florin, a to the first a registered trademark I cubed a degree of 4 a Florin 8 registered trademark a micro AA per mil 2, Ayupasu no Wanaku Shoujo Neti no Fushigi na Monogatari, / The Wonderful Story of Neti, Musical Girl of the Alps, TV special. Storyboard and Director, animated sequences only. 1977 Monarch, The Big Bear of Taluk/Seaton Animal Chronicles, Jackie the Bear Cub, based on Ernest Thompson's Seaton Euro unregistered trademark S Works, Storyboard. 1978 A Florin Shah Florin 1/4 of Florin Owek per mil 2, Perrin Monogatari/Perrin Story, based on the French novel, Arme Familia by Hector Melot, Storyboard. 1978 Future Boy Conan, based on post-apocalyptic science fiction novel The Incredible Tide written by Alexander Key, Storyboard and Director. 1979 Anne of Green Gables, / Anne of Red Hair, based on the novel by Lucy Maud Montgomery, Chief Director, Scriptwriter, Storyboard. 1981-83 A.A. Florinage Ho A.A. Florina based on the Downtown Humanity comics by Etsumi Hayuki A.A. Cubed, Chief Director, Storyboard and Director, and Original Bill for Composition of Opening Theme. Films, 1961 The Littlest Warrior, Assistant Director. 1962 A registered trademark A, AEA squared E Permel A registered trademark OEA Yesh / Interesting History of Civilization, Story of Iron, Assistant Director, Script Supervisor. 1963 The Little Prince and the Eight-Headed Dragon / Big Snake Extermination of the Naughty Royal Prince, Assistant Director. 1963 Aish, EE, EO Euro A registered trademark E ± E, / The Biggest Duel in the Underworld, live action, not an anime, temporary transfer, Assistant Director, Film Director Isao Takahata. 1964 65th Celsius 1/4 a degree added the first a ± a florin cubed / Ken, The Wolf Boy, television series works I 1/4 episode 14 and episode 72 I 1/4 Permel were released the theater. 1968 Holes, Prince of the Sun / The Great Adventure of Holes, Prince of the Sun, based on Son of Chikisani of the puppet play of Kazuo Fukazawa who used Ainu's tradition as the motif. Chief Director. 1972 Panda. Go, Panda! / Panda and Child Panda, Chief Director. 1973 Panda. Go, Panda! The Rainy Day Circus, Chief Director. 1983 Thousand Leagues in Search of Mother / edited the TV series again for a movie. Original run, July 19, 1980, Supervisor. 1981 A.A. Florinage Ho Florin Cubed A.A. Florina / Chai the Brat, Chief Director / Scriptwriter. 1982 Ghosh the Cellist, based on the children's story of Kenji Miyazawa, Chief Director, Scriptwriter. 1983 Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland / based on the weekly comics of Winsor McCay in the United States, Japan side director I 1/4 feature on March 12, 1983 I 1/4 Permel Euro. 1984 Norgesar Currency of the Valley of the Wind producer. 1986 Castle in the Sky / Laputa, Castle in the Sky, producer. 1987 A.A. Cubed A.A. Euro a Permel Squared C Permel 2 / The Story of Yanagawa's Canals, Chief Director, Scriptwriter, documentary film of culture. 1988 Grave of the Fireflies, based on the novel of Akiyuki Nosaka, Chief Director, Scriptwriter. 1989 Keys Delivery Service / Witches Delivery Service, based on the children's literature of Eiko Kadeno, music direction. 1990 E Micron a registered trademark AM Florin Cubed I 1/4 a degree a Florin 1/4 a Florin Cubed a squared a Florin A registered trademark E I 1/4 / Anne of Red Hair, Road to Green Gables, edited the TV series again for a movie. Original run, September, 1990, direction / editing. 1991 Only Yesterday / Memory Like Rain, Chief Director, Scriptwriter, translated lyrics of the theme song. 1994 Pom Poko / Total Natural Color comic movie, Heisei Era Raccoon Dog Battle Pom Poko, original, Chief Director, Scriptwriter. 1999 My Neighbors the Yamadas, based on the caricature of Hisaaki Ishii, Chief Director, Scriptwriter. 2003 Winter Days, he participated in this movie with 35 animation creators in the world. 2013 The Tale of Princess Kaguya, Chief Director, Co-Scriptwriter. Translator and Director of Japanese dub subtitles for Ghibli Museum Library films, Kairaku et la Sorcière, Les Triplets de Belleville, Princes et Princesses, Le Roi et l'Oiseau, Moya Lyubov, Azure Asma, Notes. Further reading, Odell, Colin, and Michelle LeBlanc. Studio Ghibli, The Films of Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata. Harpenden, Hertfordshire, England, Camera, 2009. ISBN 9781842432792. OCLCA 299246656. External links: Takahata information at nautisr.net, ghibliworld.com, a personal conversation with Isao Takahata, Isao Takahata at Anime News Network's Encyclopedia, Isao Takahata at the Internet Movie Database.